it's kind of a fun week for me. I just realized I had to put my stops. I told her I didn't need a timer, and then I almost didn't start my timer. This is always really, the last few years especially, this is a really interesting week for me, the midweek of August. I have two really significant dates this week. Being tomorrow is, and I'll say it, I'm proud of it, my 43rd birthday. Yay! And then Thursday, interestingly enough, is, I'll call it my anniversary. It's the anniversary of my divorce, my 4th year, being single. So it's really, I know, I'm excited for that too. That was a big step. It's a lot of reflection, and I just, starting from my birthday, I think, well, how's my life gone? It's 43 years. I kind of think it's midpoint, give or take a little. And I kind of mentally split it up into a couple of different categories. I'm going to talk about these a little later, but I'll kind of give you the overviews. I kind of see myself as like, there was 13 years where I was just a kid, the running around, and being crazy 13, up to about 12, 13. At that point, I got really serious about my Christian path. Like up to then, I was interested in spirituality for sure. But I'd say high school for me was the big step of where I started really like focusing on I want to be in ministry, and I was, my church was just my life at that point. I spent about 13, 14 years doing that. Some things didn't go so well, so I kind of left the church, and then I got married. And I had about 13 years that I call, that was the married years, because that was the big influence on my life. Everything was largely focused around what my husband wanted, what I thought a good wife should do. And so everything kind of focused on that. And then the last 4 years, I've kind of split in half and half. The first 2 years, I was kind of getting my life a little kind of back in order, but it was really focused on my weight loss. Like I had a year of like huge weight loss, and then I had a year of like skin removal surgeries. And then the last 2 years has been me pretty much focusing on my ministry. So it's kind of interesting as I'm looking back at that, the path it's been, because I was looking at the different things that have happened and what was I seeking during those times. And the song, it's interesting, it's a song I never listened to. In my head, I keep hearing Diana Ross this month, like over and over, and I'm like, okay, brain, I'm a little tired of this now. And the song is, I'm going to read just like the first verse, it's in, probably almost everybody knows it's, do you know where you're going to? And so the first verse is, do you know where you're going to? Do you like the things that life is showing you? Where are you going to? Do you know? Do you get what you're hoping for? When you look behind you, there's no open doors. What are you hoping for? Do you know? And I thought for me, that kind of summarizes this week. I'm looking back at my life and going, okay, well, there's places I've been, those doors are no longer open. Where am I going to? Do I know where I'm going to? And am I happy with what life's showing me? And so I really started thinking, I've been really exploring this even the last couple of years, I would say, of what are my goals in life? What do I want from life? What do I want to be doing? And so I want to share with you a little bit of what I've seen the Course say, and then one of the processes that I've been using that really kind of helps me get clear on that. So starting with two quotes from the Course. First one says, the stars will disappear, and night and day will be no more. All things that come and go, the tides, the seasons, and the lives of men, all things that change with time and bloom and fade will not return. Where time has set an end is not where the eternal is. And I thought, that was probably one of the most inclusive paragraphs I've ever seen. It starts with the stars, the tides, the oceans, the seasons, and people. Everything that comes and goes is not eternal. And I thought really for me, a huge portion of the beginning of my life was focused on those things that were not eternal. I had the first 13 years, I don't think I had much spiritual consciousness the first 13 years. I think you can. I had some. But then especially when I went into the time of the church, I was like, well, what was I trying to get during that? What did I want from life? What was life showing me during that time? And I thought, I was looking to be validated, for somebody to say I was moral enough, I was good enough. My goal was to get the church to accept me as a minister, which the church I was in would never have done that. They were like, women, chest and, we'll say boobs and butt, you weren't supposed to minister. But that was what I was really seeking. I was trying to get people to validate me. because I didn't necessarily feel real validated at home. And my parents were very loving, but my sister was a big distraction because there was a lot of issues with her. And so I sought my validation from the church. And so I kind of put a note, I was living under the law. I was trying to get people to say I was good because of the external things I did. Then I had the years I mentioned, I was married. It was an interesting marriage. We married quickly. We met in June. We started dating in August. We were engaged in October, and we were married in February. So we knew each other about 7.5 months total, from the day we first met to the day we married. And over half that time we were engaged. So at that point you're not even talking, you're just frantic trying to figure out a wedding. And, it was one of the sad things. I'll tell you, the first time that I looked and I went, oh my God, what did I do? Was as we drove off for my wedding. We were in the car, and he was upset about, I still don't even understand. He was upset about something about our tickets related to our honeymoon or whatever. And it was the first time he yelled at me as we left. And I thought, oh my God, I just married somebody who I don't know. And then I was like, but I was still like, even though I wasn't really attending church, I was like, I gotta be the good Christian girl. I can't divorce. So I stayed with him, and my life became, instead of trying to get approval based on I'm good outside, you can say I'm a good moral person, I tried to get my validation from the emotional relationship. I want him to love me. And so I sacrificed myself a lot. I found, I was thinking back at, I was very submissive. If I said, let's go for Mexican, and he said, well, I'm not in the mood for Mexican, I want Chinese, I'd be like, oh, okay, we'll go for Chinese. He would spend literally thousands and thousands of dollars and hide it from me. And I wasn't allowed to spend like $150 for work clothes. And so it was a very situation where it's very, very controlling in a lot of ways. And yet I stayed, like I said, I didn't want God mad at me. But I also, for me, I was trying to get love. I was trying to get this external person to say, you're worth something because I love you. And it's interesting because at the same time, I probably did, and I'll say it wasn't all his fault, I did a lot of things to push him away. I want you to love me, but by the way, I'm depressed, so I'm going to, get to 300 pounds. I want you to love me, but I'm mad that you weren't honest with me, so instead of talking about that, I'm going to scream and yell at you. I was never a screamer until we got married. I think that's about 7 years, and I became a screamer. But I just want that validation. So I kept saying, I need somebody to love me. And at this point now, I was in the church, so I'm like, well, I can't get validation from the church. I got to get validation from thing. And it's like, I look at that, and I'm like, well, all those things passed. I'm not at those churches anymore. And actually, for that matter, the one church I was really trying to get validation from, it's not there anymore. I drove by, and I actually almost crashed my car because I was like, oh, my church isn't there. It was a shock. And those things pass. I think that's what the Course says, is when we start looking outside ourselves for validation, when we start looking outside for experiences to make me feel like I'm important, like I'm good, they're going to pass. And those become very empty things. And I love this other section. It says, if you would remember eternity, you must learn to look only on the eternal. If you allow yourselves to become preoccupied with the temporal, you're living in time. As always, and this actually is very close to the lesson today, it says, as always, your choice is determined by what you value. Time and eternity cannot both be real because they contradict each other. And so it's like I really couldn't have a good spiritual path because I was focused on the temporal. I was focused on getting everyone and everything around me to validate who I was. And so then I look at, and this was part of the reading today, was workbook 104. It says, his are the gifts which we inherited before time was, and which will still be ours when time has passed into eternity. So just start right there, God's gifts, they don't end. My weight, I've been honest about this, my weight's not where I want it to be. I lost 150 pounds. I regained about 50. That came and went. And I still am, I'm still feeling good about where I'm at. But I'm realizing, for me to have been striving, I was talking to a friend this week. I said, for me, a lot of my validation was, oh my gosh, look how much weight I lost. Everybody was commenting on it all the time. I was the rock star in the gym. I was killing it. Guess what? That passed. And then I regained weight. Well, if my validation's on this body, now I'm sad because I'm, a little bit on the fat side. I'll say it. And then it says, these are the gifts which are within us now. We already got them. Woohoo! For they are timeless, and we need not wait to have them. They belong to us today. Therefore, we will to have them now, and know in choosing them, in place of what we made, we but unite our will with what God wills, and recognize the same as being one. We clear a holy place within our mind before his altar, where his gifts of peace and joy are welcome, and to which we come to find what has been given us by him. We could wish for nothing else, for nothing else belongs to us in truth. I think that's interesting, because there's so many times you think, oh my gosh, I want this, I want this, I want this. And yet it says, we could wish for nothing else. What's the nothing else? The peace of God, the joy of God. Those are the things that are the eternal things. Those are the things that are going to satisfy us. Seeking experiences, seeking events, seeking validation doesn't get me the peace and joy of God. Now, those things can become a means possibly, but if we're focusing on those things as the end point, it's not. And I'll say, some people go, I've heard of course students say this, okay, so the world's illusion, so I just ignore it and who cares? And I wouldn't say that either, because it's not that it's bad, but you need to see that it's a means. For me, like I said, I've gained weight. For me, losing weight, I'm back at the gym. I'm a little sore today. Little too many chest presses this week. I had fun at the gym. But you know what? I'm not looking at the gym as a means to validate who I am. I'm looking at the gym as a means to support who I already am. That's a big difference. I'm already a child of God. I'm already a minister of God. I'm already a teacher of God. By being healthy and taking care of myself and showing love to my body, I can function better. I can feel better. And I feel for me, it's been a huge learning experience for me in dealing with my weight issues. And so for me, how do I experience love on a day-to-day basis? I don't neglect myself. I don't sacrifice myself before others. I don't allow somebody else to order me around and do stuff. I used to work, I've had jobs where consistently I worked 60 to 70 hours a week. I don't sacrifice my health for a job that's going nowhere, when by taking care of myself I can say, wait, this is an expression to a child of God. I'm expressing love, and it happens to be I go to the gym to do that. And so you have to kind of look and see what is the purpose. So I went, and I've mentioned this before, I went to the mountains, the forest, for 3 months at the end of 2015. And I'll be honest, I was devastated. I was in a state where it was not uncommon for me to cry 6 to 10 hours a day, I would say. I was that upset. I was just devastated. I felt like I lost all my friends. I lost my work. I lost my home. And the one thing I knew when I got there was the only way I'm going to be happy is I have to stop relying on everything else, everything outside of me, for my happiness. I can't change my friend. I can't change, trust me, I tried, that my apartment got infested with roaches multiple times and they wouldn't go away. I tried to change that a lot. I tried to change my work situation. And when I ended up in the forest, I'm crying. I thought, I tried to change these. I couldn't change them. And especially now I'm in the forest, I really can't change them because I wasn't even seeing those people anymore. And so I got really clear that I had to release that. And I saw that, I love this one book I was reading, and she was talking about it. She said, a lot of times you hear people say, I have trouble loving myself. I can love someone else, but I have trouble loving myself. And this particular author was saying that's impossible. And I was like, what do you mean it's impossible? There's times when I've hated myself, but I totally thought I loved this other person. And she said, you can't love anyone because you don't actually really know that person. You only know your thoughts of that person. Think of that. If you ever met somebody and you thought, oh, I totally know this person, then a week later you're like, huh? I didn't know him. We love who we think someone is. We love our story of who someone is. And ultimately, the Course says everything outside is a projection of ourselves. So guess what? That person's a projection of your thoughts anyway. So the love you have for that person, it's not a love they caused you to have, it's a love that's within. It's a love that you have to just acknowledge and say, oh my gosh, there's love already within me. Now, if I can express that love to myself, I can see the truth of who I am. And so I went through this time of really looking and saying, I can't be basing my happiness on these outside people. I can't be basing my what I want from life on these outside people. And somebody offered a process to me, which I'll just kind of talk you through it briefly. Think of something easy you can kind of do in your mind. I'll do this on paper when I'm doing this at home, and I'll do everything I can think of. Think of something in your life you really, really, really want. Really, really, really want. I would say right now for me, I've already mentioned it, I'd really love to lose about 30 pounds. That's my goal. I'd really love to lose 30 pounds. So think of your goal. What's your goal? That if today I said to you, what's the one thing you really are really working hard for? You know, and maybe it's a relationship. Maybe it's a college degree. Maybe it's a specific possession. Trust me, my Amazon wish list is like 50 items long. You know, I got my wish list. Something you really, really want. Now, take a step beyond that. How does, if you got that thing at this moment, how would it make you feel? How would it make you feel? And so I think, okay, for me, I want to lose the weight. How would that make me feel? I'd feel powerful. I'd feel confident, a little more confident. I wouldn't feel necessarily as tired as I do sometimes. I would feel that I was expressing love to myself. Guess what? Those are the things you want. Whether I lose the weight or not, and I've said this before, I've had all the skin removal surgeries, and I've had the experience of, I knew which ones I was getting, and then I got done with them, and it was like, oh, well, as long as we're doing some touch-up work, can we do the eyes too, and then somebody said to me, well, if you're doing the eyes, maybe, you could go to crazy land. When you're seeking the thing, you get it and you lose it, because everything's temporal. If you can recognize I'm seeking the feeling behind it is the gifts of God. The confidence is knowing that I'm a child of God. Feeling, healthy is expressing love to myself. And if I can acknowledge that those are the gifts that I have to receive, I can be much more open to the experience, and my joy and happiness isn't going to come and go with whether I have those things at this moment, because I'm focused on receiving. And so the workbook, this is again part of the reading, it says, today I claim the gifts forgiveness gives. God's voice is offering the peace of God to all who hear and choose to follow him. This is my choice today, and so I go to find the treasures God has given me. I seek but the eternal. And I shared this with the presenters and the staff at the conference, that while I was on the retreat, one of the things I did was I came up with what do I see my life purpose as? And so for me, every time I do something, I try to be very aware of, is this for my life purpose, or am I doing something else? And for me, the life purpose, and I spent about 3 months refining this, was to serve and support others in their spiritual journey as they walk with me on my path of remembering myself as one with love. So no matter what I'm doing or saying, I come back to, for me, that's the gifts of God for me. That if I can see my brother as love, and if I can see myself as love, and I can walk in that journey, no matter what I've got in the interim, no matter what the means are, the gifts of God are mine, because I'm living for a spiritual purpose. And so I go back to Diana Ross and I think, do I like the things life's showing me? Yeah, I'm kind of excited about it. I don't think I want to go back up to the forest again in the mood I was in when I went. But I've been able to now see that the gifts that I really value are not necessarily, I value the relationships, but I value what comes of those relationships more than the individual person. Because those are gifts to me that God has given. To be able to feel love, to be able to know my worth is a gift of God, and that person is a channel for that. And I recognize them now as the channel, not the source. Do I know exactly where I'm going to? I don't know. My goal is to stay at the CMC for a really long time. Yay! I've said that before, and it didn't last nearly as long as I thought. So, do I know where I'll be physically? No. But do I know that the gifts I have and where I'm going to is a place where God loves me and I'm supported in that? Yeah. So I'm excited about my birthday. I'm excited about my 4th divorce anniversary. And that's it. I hope you join me with that and have a good time and live in it. So thank you.